Welcome to Real Talk with Donna Valdes, where we dive deep into the stories of resilience, triumph, and hope from some of the most inspiring entrepreneurs, women in business, and leaders from all walks of life. Hello, and welcome to another edition of Real Talk with Donna Valdes. That's me, this girl right here. And every week, I try to bring you encouraging stories of strength and hope from entrepreneurs, women in business, leadership, people who have gone through what you're going through, maybe if you're going through a hard time, or people who have made it, those that walk the walk and talk the talk. And this week is no different because I am so stoked. I don't even know if they say stoked. I don't give a crap if they don't say stoked. I'm saying stoked. I am so stoked for my guest this week. This is a woman I met 2020. Yeah, 2020. And like you just click. You know, you ever meet those perfect strangers where you just like click and you're like, okay, you're my tribe, you're my people. We got, we get along. But more than that is the philosophies, the business philosophies, life philosophies. We just connected in such a great way. We worked together for a short time and I have been her biggest cheerleader from the sidelines, screaming as loud as I can. And she just hit the top of her company. I mean, a feat that very few have done in this legacy 28, 29-year-old, I don't know, so old ass company. She's there. And I am so excited. I want to pick her brain. I want to have her share her strength, her experience, good, the bad, the ugly. And I said, let's go have a real talk. And she jumped in. So I can't wait for you guys to meet Willa Gipson. Say hi to everyone, Willa. Yay.
Hey everyone, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are. Thank you so much, Donna, for having me on. And I love your title, Real Talk, because what I have found out about you, Donna, you give some real talk, and I appreciate that.
Oh no, people love me or hate me. I mean, it's like honest. I just find it easier to be honest, right? And you could be honest without being rude. But I find that so many times if you just be honest, it's less stressful, right? And how many people have we both encountered where they're so worried about image or they fake it and they, talk out of both sides of the mouth. They're not sure who they, and then I'm like, you must be exhausted at the end of the day,
Well, I remember when I first met you, and you had assembled some folks to just hear, what we had on our minds. And I can't tell you all the people in that room how much they appreciated that, because you don't often get an opportunity to really speak your mind, what's good, what's not so good. And the first time you walked in the door, that's what you allowed us to do. So I appreciate that.
Oh, thanks. Well, let's talk about some team building because when it comes to team building, you have definitely earned your stripes. I call them scars because you get hit a lot in team building. First of all, congratulations. I mean, hitting the top of any company, let alone a legacy company, is such a ginormous. And I know what you're going to say because I know you. You're going to say you got there because of your team, and you got there because of your team because you are you lead the team. But that started even before you got into network marketing when you were a coach. A sports coach, you led teams. I've always been curious, and I think we talked about it one time. What are the similarities you brought in from your coaching days to now leading and coaching a whole team inside network marketing?
You're right, Donna. I was a coach, and athletics is my background, my family's background, and we're just competitive. I'm a very, very competitive person. So in my coaching life, I want to win, and even if I had the crappiest team, which I did sometimes, we just found a way to at least make a presence and at least compete. So I've just transitioned that whole idea from coaching to this industry, that it's a competition, not with other people, but it's a competition with myself to be the best that I can be. So that's how I approach my business, and that's how I approached it when I was a coach, when I was an athlete. I just wanted to train as hard as I could to be the best that I could, and then when I was coaching, I wanted to train as best as I could the athletes so that we could put a great product out on the court. So that's the big similarity. It's no different from athletics to what we do right here. It's very similar, and that's why it just felt good for me to be in this industry.
That's so true. I see a lot of similarities. You'd be shocked how many people meet me and go, "Oh, you must have played basketball." Right? Because what
I
I'm
think I
60.
asked you that. I think I
Yeah,
said
you
that
did.
to
You
you.
said, "You must have played basketball." And I'm like, no. And then the next, but oh, then volleyball. And I'm like, No, no, but it's so
Could
funny.
have, you could have.
I could have. Yeah, I could have. That would have been fun. Yeah, they used to call me Amazon Donna in high school. True story. I know. That's so funny. All right,
Oh,
so let's talk about your early days. First of all, how long have you been in this space?
January coming up will be 20 years. So I'm just counting 20 years basically. Because really, when I was introduced to this, it really was, let's see, Jesus, Donna, it was November 2004 about an opportunity that might be coming along in January. So it's been 20 years that I've been in this space.
That's
Hard to
incredible.
believe.
You've seen well, especially with technology, COVID, you've seen a lot. What's the biggest change? Like I often will tell people, man, I'm OG. I miss the hotel meetings. I'm missing the living room meetings. Like we're starting to gradually go back there, but it used to be like every Tuesday you show up and that was part of your getting started. You had a living room meeting. Now, what's unique about what you guys are doing is you kind of still are clinging to that OG business model a bit. I know I see you on social, you're traveling all over Texas and going to support your team meetings. But first of all, what's the biggest change you've seen in how people are building business from the time you start to today?
Wow. I mean, it's not a way that I particularly like or embrace, but you're right. Just since COVID, it's just been the virtual presentations are great. They still are, but Donna, it's not anywhere close to what we can do when we're seeing each other face to face and we're belly to belly and we're in a very intimate setting where we can really talk and be real with each other, have some real talk. So the biggest change I've seen is the fact, and you're right, trying to get back to the live meetings. We are, to be honest, we're struggling to get people to come back out because it's just so comfortable to be sitting like we're doing right now in front of a computer screen and just hearing the information. But I will go to my grave believing home meetings, the live meetings are the way to build. And that's what we did in the beginning, Donna. I remember very vividly Susan Fisher is my sponsor. You know her. She and I and her brother decided we were going to start having home meetings because that's what we were told to do. I didn't know any different. Okay, let's have a home meeting. We show up at the second person I signed up in the business back in 2005 was hosting the home meeting. We show up at her house. No one shows up. We invited people, but no one showed. Fancy that. Can you believe that? But we vowed that night. We said, okay, y'all, the hell to this. We are going to have some people in the seats next week. And we vowed to at least have at least two people apiece. And we did. We accomplished that. And the next week, we had it doubled. The next week, it doubled. And Donna, we got to the point where we had 60, 70 people in that house, cars lined all up and down the road, neighbors complaining. And that's when, Donna, we had we had to sign people up on triplicate forms, put them in order like they needed to be, run them to Dallas, and hope they would input them the way they needed to go into the system. So that's how we started. And the meeting got so crowded at that home that we moved it. And I regret to this day we moved it because it really killed some momentum. So we moved it to an office building and people quit coming, and that was to my regret. But yeah, that's how we started back in the day. Home meetings. I still preach home meetings.
And triplicate forms. Remember, you had to make sure you press real hard because you had to get through the yellow copy, you had to get to the gray, and then you were like, oh, and then if you messed up, you had to scratch it out because it was in triplicate. Oh my
I
goodness.
also remember, Donna, taking the big old screen, the heavy metal screen, and my projector. Well, that's after we were doing it on the flip charts, like I have in my office right now. But we just carrying all that equipment. We're not doing that anymore, and I'm really happy about that.
Do you think the technology with the virtual has made people lazy?
Absolutely, without a doubt.
That's interesting. I do think that we've become super comfortable. Like people aren't even going back into the office anymore. I think they're just like, and I think social media was scrolling. And if you're not satisfied within 60 seconds, what do? With your thumb, you're scrolling up, you're looking onto the next video, getting entertained by somebody else. And I'm like, the days of presentations, I mean, we had a formula, right? It was a 5-centered formula: the products, the company, the comp plan, leadership, timing, and opportunity. It's boilerplate. Now you got to condense that in to capture the attention, because all these people are so scroll happy because they're all online. How do
Distraction.
you get your message across effectively to capture someone's attention in that little micro, like where before, at least in a meeting, we closed the damn door. They had to get up off their seat to go and leave, and they were embarrassed if they were interrupting. I mean, I remember like, oh, so-and-so's leaving, and everyone looks at him, he's all embarrassed. Now they do it in the privacy of their home and they're just scrolling. How do you keep someone's attention when you're trying to present to someone the first time?
Well, one thing I have found out, Donna, in these years, especially now since post-COVID, we've got to shorten the presentation. Nobody, and I mean, these are adults that have very short attention spans, right? Nobody wants to sit and listen to an hour presentation. I don't. So what I found is we have had to really shorten the presentations to keep people's attention where they don't leave. I see people on the Zoom, oh, they just left. Oh, they just left. So that's been our goal, is to keep the presentation shorter.
Like what,
But
10
you're
minutes?
right, though. People have become lazy. And I have found also summertime, oh, it's so hot. I don't want to get out. Wintertime, oh, it's so cold. Rain, oh, it's raining. I mean, just lazy and excuses.
Well,
Drives me nuts.
oh, being competitive as you are, and shout out to Susan Fisher, another super competitive woman. I can imagine the two of you trying to capture more butts in the seats than each other. That must have been hilarious back in the day. I mean, if she
Yep.
brought in 3, you brought in 2. I could see you pouting and like, I'm going to bring in 5 next week. And she's like, oh yeah, I can hear it now. I can hear you two
Hey,
going
we're,
on
we're
now.
Donna, we're still that way. I mean, I talked to her yesterday. She's had some things going on in her life, dad's cancer, blah, 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 but she's back now. And she said, I'm coming after you, Gip. And she is. So we're still that way today.
I love it. I love it. All right. So what about someone brand new? Let's say you enroll a brand new person, someone who's totally green, never done this before. A stay-at-home mom, has 2 kids, doesn't have a clue what to do. Are you teaching them different today than you were back then on how to get started?
No, I am not. I'm not, because what I'm doing now with the new IBO that I did with the new IBO 18, 19 years ago is, if they're close to me within an hour, well, even within 2 hours, I am meeting with them. We're sitting down together and we're spending an hour and a half training on how, and I take pride in doing that. I don't want anybody else to do it for me. I want to do it. But if they're, 5, 6 hours away, a flight away, we get on the Zoom, which I don't prefer that, but that's better than nothing. So the very new green IBO, we train. And if they don't have time to do that in the first 24 hours, Donna, frankly, I don't want them on my team, because it's, as you know, at the beginning of any kind of new opportunity, there's some promos on the table that have times attached to them. And if they're not willing to meet with me immediately, I have a problem with that.
That's so true. So you're at the top of this company. Are you still recruiting?
Yes, I have to. we, I have to. We call that phase 1. I promise you, Donna, I have been I have been guilty of being in management mode before, but I vowed to myself, I can't be in management mode, because we know I can't make anybody on my team, and there are thousands there, but I can't make anybody on my team work. But I can continue to look for new blood who really want to do something. But even then, Donna, I have understood here the last years in this industry, I'm kind of interviewing you to see if I even want you on my team. I want to know, how hard can I push you? I want to know how much money do you want to make? So it gives me a pretty good idea how much I can push you. And I even asked permission with the new IBO. Is it okay if I push you? It'll be in love. It'll be professional. It won't be ugly. But I'm not playing with this, Donna. And if it's somebody who wants to play around, later for them.
I love it. Okay, so your team, and I know quite a few of them, and they love you. They adore you. I mean, that's unusual. A lot of times when you talk to people that have large organizations, a lot of their people don't like them really. And there's people we could think of that have, uplines where you're like, oh, oh, okay. Your team loves you. What is the secret to developing a positive team culture that you have? And give someone, so if someone's just starting in a team of 1 plus 1 is 2, what are some of the biggest mistakes you've done cultivating your team, and then tell them some tips on how to have like a badass team culture like you do.
Well, the tips I would get, I believe the reason why we have created some culture, we're still working on that. We're not there. I just had a pool party the other day, and I didn't have as many people show up as I wanted, but we did it anyway. But the tip I would give is I'm present, Donna. And even if it kills me, I'm present, because it's very difficult for me to expect people to do some things if I'm not around them. If I don't drive, 7 hours down to South Texas every now and then and let them know I'm still in your corner, I'm still here to help you. I think the best thing I can do for my team is to be present. And they know, like you said earlier, I've got to walk the walk. Can't tell them to be at these events and go do this and go do that. First of all, I'm not a dictator. They don't work for me, but I can encourage them. So I got to show them, I got to model for them what I expect them to do. So I think my tip is be present. The things I've done poorly, I know I've done poorly, is just chasing people. In the back of the day, I'd say probably the first 5 years, I'm kind of embarrassed to say this, but I would just chase people and beg them. Well, I'll beg them to take a look at the business, but I don't want to beg them to do the business. So that's probably one of the flaws that I had early on, was just trying to make people see what I felt was good for them. I don't do that anymore. Either I'm going to show you the information, either you see its value for you and your family or not, and let's become a customer and let's move on.
Well, how did you make that switch? What was it that you were like, enough? Like, what happened that you were like, okay, this ain't working?
Well, because I understood that if I had to chase people, I was going to chase them to work. And I knew that's mentally exhausting. It's even physically sometimes exhausting when I'm just calling people and they're not responding and they go missing in action, all those things. They won't return the call, the text. And I just said, enough with that, because I really only need a few good men and women to really see the value of this business and blow it up. So that was a turning point for me. And I had to talk to them, do some self-talk. Willa, don't take it personal. They're not the right person right now. Maybe they will be later. So I had to really change my mindset that it's okay. Just move on.
It's so hard, because I know so many times one of the biggest mistakes I see is people, when they get a new person, they hold them so tight. They're so like the person is a possession, right? And they're trying so hard. They want to hang on to them so tight because it's like you just went fishing. I mean, and you're like, well, I caught one, and you're holding on for, and you're squeezing them so hard because you're holding on so tight.
And I have a really good example of that in my organization. I have a really good group down in South Texas, a Latino group. They are amazing. And every Monday I do a leadership forum, handpicked about 10 to 15 people that are really doing something. And we do that every Monday. And I have about 3 of those from South Texas that are in that group. They don't ever show up for the Zoom. They don't. But when I look at their numbers, Donna, I see what they're doing. I see they're outproducing anybody else on my team. So I said, well, I'm going to let them do what they're doing. Why am I going to try to control what they're doing? They have their own home meetings. They have their own business center where they do presentations and trainings. So why would I even try to interrupt that? If they get on, great. If they don't, great. Because once again, they're my biggest producers right now. So do you. But I do stay in contact with them, though, to let them know.
Yeah, but that's humbling. That's humbling on you, because a lot of, like, especially high level leaders, they'll be like, it's my way. You do the training I wrote, and you never come across that way.
I don't want to be that way, because, I really try to express to people that I'm not your employer. And this is a system. I'm a system follower, Don. If I have a system, I can flourish. If I've got to you're really good at creating things, Don. I don't have that gift. So if I am really sitting there and following the system, I can do this business. So I try to impose with my team, let's just follow the system. I had somebody last night say, oh, we have a great service, and how can we get some flyers? Do you make up flyers? No, all the information in your back office. Go to your back office, download the dang flyer, and print it off. I'm not going to create a flyer. You're making too much work for yourself. And when I see people, how people are really busy but not productive. That's what I see with this particular person. But it's all good.
Yeah. They're creative then. They're creative, and also might mean they don't have much of a list, but that's interesting. What's the biggest win that you've had in your career?
In my direct sales career?
Mm-hmm.
Gosh, The biggest win.
Like the one that just filled your heart with so much emotion, so much joy, so much like you were like, oh, like that feeling, the feeling.
Yeah.
What is the one moment of your entire career that gave you that feeling?
Well, selfishly, when I promoted to the top in the company, but I do give credit where credit is due. But when you grind and you work and you think you're almost there, and then you look up and you've fallen further behind, which has happened to me with this rise to this position. You just think it humbles you, like you mentioned earlier. And I'm looking at my board right now, and I keep a board on who's where, how many, what they have. And that is really humbling to me to know that I've got some people riding this wave with me. It's not a whole lot, but I don't need a whole lot. So I don't even know if I answered that question, but that's what's really humbling to me, is to see that I've got some people on this journey with me, and all of our arrows are pointing in the same direction, and we're trying to get to the same destination. It's not really a destination. We never get to a destination, but we're on this journey together. And that's but the biggest moment was really when I was able to promote to the top level.
I can imagine. I mean, it's not like you're an overnight success. This was a lot of work. And I know firsthand the work you've gone through.
Donna, I was sitting, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but this thought came to my mind. I was sitting, the Walshes, their son plays in the NBA. He plays for the Boston Celtics. So I had gone to watch him play one Saturday night. And mind, understand, I'm looking at my numbers saying, oh God, are we here? Are we there? Are we here yet? Are we here yet? Are we here yet? Oh, the new update has happened. Oh, I haven't gotten an email or anything. I'm thinking, oh my God, I still hadn't made it yet. I'm sitting at a ball game and we're greeting him after his game. I get this email. Elva Davila has promoted to RVP. And I think, oh my God, because I knew exactly what I needed. If she promoted RVP, I promote SVP. Right after that, I get the email that I promoted, and I just started bawling right there, probably in front of 200 people waiting on Jordan to get out of the locker room to congratulate him on his game. But God, that was a huge moment for me right there, Donna. That was very emotional for me, because I had been working and looking at numbers and talking to people. This is what you need, so it's exhausting, it's hard, but it's worth it.
Yeah, but your team is so good. And like you said, when you knew you had to get certain people to a certain rank, that was only going to carry you up. It's right out of Zig Ziglar, Jim Rohn. You help others get what they want, you get what you want as a byproduct. So
yes,
that
ma'am.
is okay. So that was your biggest win. What's your biggest pit? You know me, my pit and peaks, right? You remember those? I used to have everyone tell me your biggest pit and peaks. Your biggest peak was that moment. The biggest pit you've had over the last 12 years, the gut crunching, wrenching, like sucker punch that you felt?
Wow. Probably the biggest probably it's just how do I put this in words? People not seeing what I know is good and what I believe is good and what could be good for them. That's what hits me hardest in my gut, because I just know. I mean, looking at the news yesterday, 1,000 points dropped in the Dow because of fear of a recession. And I know people are hurting, but why don't they take a chance on themselves? And that's what really hurts me, is because they really don't know what kind of aid I'm going to give them. I can speak it, but until they really become a part of my team, they don't really know. So I think that's what really hits me the hardest, is that I know people are out there needing something, whether it's what I have, what you have, whatever. They just don't take a chance on them. And that's sad to me, that people don't believe in themselves,
Mhm.
Because
What
when I'm
advice would you give? Let's say there's someone who has the same. I mean, I feel that way too. It's like when you almost see the potential in someone more than they see themselves, and you want to pour into them, but it doesn't get reciprocated, it's very frustrating, but you don't want to chase them. So then it's almost like, you know what it's like? It's like little bouts of grief. Yeah, it's like, it's a little bouts of grief, because you have to, you have to let it go, right? You have to let it go. You come across someone, you see their potential, they might be excited a little bit, but then they stop seeing their own potential, and you can't force that. You can't continue just to, move them, and they're not going to, and then you got to eventually get to the point of letting them go to do their own thing. And yeah, that grief that you get of what could have been,
that's the word,
it
grief.
is. It's like almost like this grieving moment. What advice would you give to someone who, let's say someone's starting their new journey, they've brought in a couple people, their belief is through the roof, like your belief is through the roof, and they're coming across those naysayers. They're coming across people without the confidence. And because I think there's almost like a skill set, and it's not so much how to accept rejection as it is how do you handle, like, almost not what is it, the word I always screw it up, the compartmentalize the grief part of it. What tip would you give someone who's trying to build a team, build all this, and then they find, oh, the horse doesn't want to drink the water? What now?
Well, I've got to identify really what the new person needs and where they are in their journey. And when I can determine that, but what I find most often is this whole industry, yeah, you got to have some skill. I don't discount that, but you got to have the proper mindset because it's just not going to be easy and people are going to disappoint you and you're going to be discouraged. Now, I don't want to sound so negative, Nancy. There's not some good stuff with this, but I'm just saying with that new IBO who's really trying, I've got to really spend some extra time with him or her, helping them understand the mindset is the biggest part of your business. It's not your skill. We're going to work on your skill. We're going to develop skill, but where your headspace is what's going to determine if you're successful or not in this business. I can't tell you how many times I said, oh my God, am I going to get this? Am I going to make this happen? I'm tired. I'm weary. I just need to take a break. And that's all up here. And I think it's my job and my duty, my obligation to my team is to let them see that. And we do mindset training. You know, it might be boring, but because Donna, here's what people will find out about me. And I express it. I cannot stand excuses. I can't, because you and I have been where these people are. We have kids. My kids were in athletics. My kids had activities. I had church obligations. I had a full-time job. I did this part-time for 8 years. So I have to get good at helping people understand that if you really want this to work, this is what you got to do. This. And if you're not willing to do it, you probably aren't going to get where you want to go. And I want to be very transparent and very clear with that. I've grown with that, Donna. In the before I would just let them tell me what they want to do, what they thought. No, I've done this now for enough years to understand, in my opinion, this is what you need to do.
Tell me about your mindset training. What kind of, are you reading? What books are you reading? What do you do? What does Willa Gipson do to keep your mind going?
We do some of all the above. I have some really favorite books, like The Richest Man in Babylon. I know it's ancient, but the principles in that book are so appropriate for what we're doing here. We talk about, I have a PowerPoint where we do mindset, showing people how long it takes to even earn the kind of income you need in your retirement, how so many people don't in their retirement, can't even make it. We talk about those kinds of things. We talk about it's sacrificial, that you may have to miss some ball games of your kid, your 2-year-old great nephew. I mean, really? Come on now. I can't make a Super Saturday because my 2-year-old is having a soccer game this morning. Really? Can you not miss it one time? We talk about, I love to play golf. I love to be on the water on my boat, but there's a certain time you can't do some of those things for a while, not forever. And if I can get those kinds of ideas across to people when we're talking mindset, I think we and they are ahead of the game.
Yeah, well, I think that comes with this setting realistic expectations, right? I mean, we talk about that in our cycle of duplication. When you sit down with your new person, this is not a quick, I mean, this is work. This isn't about just posting, shaking on TikTok and posting on social media. I mean, this is work, and you get rewarded for the effort you put in, right? And that's why I laugh when people go, oh, Willa, wow, that's an overnight success. So she was giving all that stuff to her. And I'm like, who are we talking about? I mean, you've earned it. And I am so proud of you just to hang in there. I mean, I know we've had long conversations, and it's like when you're weary and when you're tired, it's like, oh, don't give up. Don't give up. Don't give up.
And you have been a great example of a very successful woman in direct sales. And I recall, and you do too, we went to the Women of Power event there in that great place, that great community where everything was right there in that community. And I remember you were on stage and you said something like, why shouldn't we as women make $50,000 a week or $50,000 a month? I'm thinking, oh, what did she just say? Those kind of numbers. because you lived it, you've done that, and it broadened my imagination. Yeah, it's possible.
Yeah.
So I really give a lot of credit to you too, Donna. You the coaching you did for me that one time. I thought this woman brought it to me. She beat me over my head, but it's just what I needed. And I think that's what we got to. I've got to reciprocate that to some other people if they really are wanting to make this work for themselves.
Yeah, that was an incredible event. Shout out to Courtney. Shout out to Chelsea. We did a women in power, and it was in Key West. Key West, I think it was Key West.
Yeah, Key Largo.
Key Largo. Key Largo. That's right. And I was always fascinated when you look at the top income earners, and it's been like this for a long time. You look at like the top income earners of any company, and we've all been there. We go to events, the conventions, and they march across the stage, and always like the top 5, 10 are mostly men. Might be 1, 2 women in there, but they're mostly men. And they're making 100 grand a month, 50 grand a month, even 20 grand a month. And you might see 1 or 2 women, but you look in the audience and you look in your own organization and it's predominantly women.
Yes.
And, and there's statistics that say, 80% of all the organizations are made of women. But then I go, well, shouldn't we have 80% of the top leaders that are marching on the stage be women too then? I mean, where's the break in the logic, right? And I realized because we don't give ourselves in that mindset the permission to go make that 100 grand, that 50 grand, that, whatever it might be, that the men who were on stage, because they all say the same thing. They believe they could. So they did. And women, I think, just once you say, why don't you? Oh, well, I don't need that much, or I didn't think it was possible, or, well, I'm really here for my team, or I'm really here to help my upline. I'm really everything but you, and so that was the turning point for me, was like, it's okay to expect it for you.
Yeah, I think a lot is confidence too, because you're right. Most of the network marketers are women. The larger percentage are women, and I wanted confidence. I heard just recently, Donna. You know this person. I'm not going to call her name, but she said I'm really afraid to call him because he always makes me feel inferior. I was like, what? I call him all the time, and I ask him questions I need because I need to know. I'm not going to let him make me feel inferior. You're allowing yourself to make you feel inferior. So I think it's some confidence. I think it's just, I can't do all this. I can't be mom, wife, that. No, yes, we can. Yes, we can.
I think it goes back to what you said, it's excuses, right? Because you're right. No one can make you feel any way that you haven't given permission to feel that way. And I've been there. I mean, I've felt useless. I've felt unworthy. I've felt inferior. I've felt where people made me question my own sanity. I mean, people we know had me questioning if I knew what the hell I was talking about, and you're like, well, me. And then it's when you get that mindset. And I think you're right. You got to constantly work on that mindset to say, wait a minute. No, 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 no. Hold on a damn minute here. I know what I'm doing. I'm proud to do what I'm doing. I'm successful at, I don't know it all, but I fail forward all the time. And that's, as long as I'm failing forward, I'm good. I'm good. But I find, here's the thing, it's like they're almost like emotional bullies, right? And as soon as you get that little jolt of confidence, they back down.
That's right.
Fine. They back down. They're not going to, they're not, they're like, oh, what happened to her? And either they say you got leadership or you're bitchy, and one or the other. And I've been called twice. I've been called both, and sometimes in the same sentence, and I'm okay with it.
I've been called a bully. I'm like, really? Okay.
You're no bully. My goodness. Who do I need to go beat up? I mean, my goodness. Let me pull up. I mean, Willa Gipson bully. You're like the most loving teddy bear I've ever met in my life. You are. All right. Well, how does someone reach out and connect with you? And are you doing personal coaching or anything outside of your team? Are you doing private coaching anymore, or thinking about doing it? Because I know one time you were thinking about it, and I think it'd be a huge value if people paid you what you're worth. Are you doing that?
No, I have not started that. I'm just working with my team. I'm not doing any personal or private coaching. No, ma'am. You gotta be able to tell me why not.
Yeah, we need it. Kelly, are you listening to me? We need to find out and tell her why not. She needs to be doing that personal coaching because she's good at it. And you got too many people to help. You got so many people that can use your wisdom, your experience. I mean, it's, I
will say, I tried to, I don't know, probably about 50 people after you and I had that session, and all the notes I took on how you delivered that. I did that with a lot of people after you and I did that session. But that was just with my team, and it wasn't for any kind of profit or anything. But it's we just
And it's
start people.
very great. Your team is very blessed to have you. And I know you feel the same way about them. So if someone decided, look, they want to partner up with you and have your mentorship, your guidance, and they might be looking for a legacy company, they might be looking for, something, not a startup or a legacy company. I know your company is decades old and it has some great services. How does someone find you? What are you on social media? How does someone reach out and connect with you?
Yes, I am on social media, Facebook. I'm not, you gonna beat me up again, Don. I'm not very good with Instagram, some of those things, but I am definitely on Facebook. They can also call me. I will help anybody, Donna, whether on my team or not, because I do it right now. So I'm not gonna stop doing that. I don't want people to waste my time. Let's get that clear. But if they really need some help, I will help. So they can call me, they can email me, and I'll be happy to connect with them.
Well, I think Facebook is a great place. If you're looking for a seasoned, loving mentor in a established company, I don't know if you're tired of jumping company to company or whatever, I would highly recommend Willa. You can reach her on Facebook. We'll make sure her Facebook handle is in the description. But she doesn't bite. I can promise you that. And she is one of the most incredible women. The one thing I do appreciate about her is the relationships mean a lot to her, and the friendships you make. And that's the one thing I've been hoping, like with this whole series, is showing people that those relationships you make outlast any company affiliation you have. And I know, like, for her and I to be friends, even though we're not in the same company, that tells you the power of mutual respect. And it wouldn't have been possible if we weren't both in the same industry, in the same space. And I know, especially as you start getting around that circle of friends, you start becoming friends with people, and that, you're not profiting from each other is what I'm trying to say. That's the kind of
Right.
person she is. So reach out to her. We'll make sure her Facebook handle is in there and you could just send her a message. She's not so bougie. She doesn't have a bunch of assistants and secretaries answering her messages for her. You'll know it's her. And I gotta tease her because I know, like, she gets hit up a lot. Willa, it's been such a pleasure. Thank you so much. I love you. You could tell. I just totally thank you for sharing your wisdom, sharing your real, true adventure, good, the bad, the ugly with people. I certainly hope that it gave somebody out there by your experience, you gave them some hope.
Donna, it's been a pleasure to be on here with you. I love you too, and I really truly want you for your mentorship. You've done more for me in my direct sales life and life in general than you know. And I do appreciate you too. The little time we had together, but that we're still friends. That's the beauty of this. I love that. So thank you.